sign up at the table will have your opportunity to speak, and the chair reserves the right to limit the presentation from the floor. Ms. Green, will you call the roll, please?
Council President Smalls.
Here.
Mr. Walford.
Here.
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Kish.
Here.
Mrs. Bettman.
Here.
Mrs. Highland.
Here.
Chairman Williford.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. As I understand it, we have two sets of minutes.
Yes, February and March.
Okay. Let's do the February minutes first.
I make a motion that we approve the February 11, 2014 minutes.
Then a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Now, I can't remember which one I missed until I get to it. I missed the March. I missed March. So I can vote now.
Mr. Kish.
Yes.
Mrs. Highland.
Yes.
Mr. Walford.
I'm sorry, are we doing February or March?
February.
Oh, abstain.
Mrs. Bettman.
Yes.
Chairman Williford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I entertain a motion for approval of the March minutes. We just did February.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th meeting as written.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Walford.
Yes.
Mr. Kish.
Yes.
Mrs. Bettman.
Abstain?
Mrs. Highland.
Yes.
Chairman Williford.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, Forest Conservation Plan, Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, filed by Legends Group.
Good evening. The applicant, Legend Builders, is requesting a forest conservation plan approval for Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, which will be a subdivision of 14 single-family homes. There also have two other applications on the agenda tonight, the record plat and the final subdivision approval. The applicant is seeking to pay the fee in lieu of reforestation of $26,136, as well as a mandatory dedication park fee of $14,000. I feel the criteria for granting the forest conservation approval has been met and recommend approval.
Okay. Staff, does the commission have any questions of staff right now before we hear from Mr. Collins?
Are we going to do all of them together?
I was wondering, Jack,
Do you,
most of this is related to one particular project tonight.
Yes, sir.
And is there any way, not to miss anything, cross all the Ts, dot all the Is, but is there any way to consolidate so that we can hear something complete and make our questions, or do we have to go through each one?
Each one should be a motion.
Okay. No, on the motion, fine, but is there any way of hearing?
Oh, if you wish to, that would be fine.
Go.
do you agree?
Well, I'm going to find out if the petitioners agree too. Would you all have any problem with we'll vote on each thing, each item, but we can save some of the procedures if we just went sequentially through it.
Absolutely.
That make sense to you? Please, let's proceed then.
Okay. So as I was stating, the applicant is trying to get final subdivision approval for Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2. We have the forest conservation plan in front of us, as well as a record plat for subdivision of one parcel to create 14 single-family lots, as well as another parcel for the church. And then the final subdivision, final site and landscape subdivision approval for the development.
And the recommendation of the staff is?
The recommendation is to approve the forest conservation approval, the record plat subdivision approval, as well as final subdivision and site and landscape approval with two conditions. And the two conditions would be that the applicant must meet all comments from the memorandum received by the Department of Public Works dated April 29th, 2014, reviewed and correct them, as well as the current per lot Prince George's County School Facilities and Public Safety Surcharge, City of Laurel Impact Fee, fee in lieu of reforestation, and mandatory dedication fee must be paid before any issuance of building permits are released.
Okay. Are there any questions from the staff at this point in time?
Yes, I have a question on the survey where you show the green hatched area. Is that the area that's, is that the actual conservation area, or is those the trees that, I'm a little confused, so forgive me. Is this the area where the trees are going to be removed? It says conservation easement, proposed conservation easement. I just want
This is
clarity.
the area where the trees would be removed, part of the area where it would be removed.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Where are you talking about? What
I'm
part?
talking,
Is that right?
But it would be the trees.
I'm sorry.
The green area would be the trees that would be to remain on site.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Mr. Collins, would you like to say anything before we vote on this? Please state your name for the record.
I'm Mike Collins, Legends Group, 201 West Circle, Laurel, Maryland.
How come I'm aging but you're not?
Sorry, I feel like I have.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. 6 months ago, we were here for the preliminary approval. Nothing's really changed, the site plan, nothing's changed. We just addressed all the comments that the staff wanted. They've been taken care of. We agree and accept all the comments that were requested, and the fee in lieu of, we have no problem with that. I'm here to answer any questions that you have on the site or the site plan or anything that you need.
Okay, my concern is that you all will understand, but we won't because we're confusing. So, any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. I'm ready to hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept Forest Conservation Plan, Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, filed by Legends Group, and also approval on action on resolution number 14-04-PC, and this is for the Forest Conservation Plan.
Right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second, thank you.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Mrs. Highland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. You're going to stay in there for the next one?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we're looking at item 8, record plat Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, followed by Legends Group. Please. Kristen, do you have this one?
I do.
Okay.
Pretty much the applicant is proposing to compose 14 to parcel off to the one parcel into 14 single-family lots, and also one parcel will be remained for the church. So I recommend the approval of the subdivision record plat.
So that recommendation is approval. Any questions from commissioners?
Is there one of these in particular that has the Public Works recommendations attached to it, or does that cover the entire plan?
It actually, from the final site and landscape plan, I got thrown off a little bit.
On this particular action?
No, it's on the final action for the final site and landscape plan, not the record plat.
Anybody else have a question?
I had a question. I don't, it may not be as part of, on one of the other documents that I looked at, I'm trying to find it, but maybe it's later on in here, the 12.
Paper up here.
I saw something that indicated, and I can't exactly find it, but I'll just tell you what I think it says, that there would be no parking required for these lots except for the units that are in the driveway. And I don't know where I read that.
That's on the final site and landscape plan, but basically what you're referring to is that each house has to have 3 parking spaces, and some of the homes will have a garage. If not, they'll have 2-car garage, either 1 or 2-car garage, and then all the homes would have like a double wide driveway, so they would meet the parking requirement of 3 parking spaces.
So we all know people with single-family homes are usually young families with children, and they typically have visitors. So where are these visitors to these homes supposed to park? Are they going to spill into the other development and create problems for people that are already existing?
I really can't speak to that. I know, there's a parking crisis pretty much in every development, and I'm sure there's going to be cars that park on the street. However, that can't really be determined right now.
I mean, are these streets not wide enough to allow parking on either side of them for fire and safety? I mean, maybe someone can explain that to me, because I'm a little concerned that we have a development that's clearly has no parking except for the parking in the next development, and that's exactly where it's going to spill into.
Well, I think the street they're talking about is the one behind. This is going to be the first site in the city that has a loop road going in and out. It's not a cul-de-sac. So there's another road, if you look back behind the houses, it's going to be an actual 30-foot road, but it's not actually going to be sidewalk or anything. So I think that's what the road they're talking about, no parking. The road in front of the homes you can park out in the street also, but by code you need to at least be able to have 2 parking spaces off the street, and the houses will have that also.
He's showing 3.
3, I'm sorry.
So Lord Snowden Circle, there's parking available on the street?
Correct, in front of all the homes, but if you notice up there where it gets to the back of a church parcel, that road loops back out. That's the new law in the city of Laurel for snow removal. So that road will be there, but I think that's what the Public Works stated, where no parking could be back up on that road. They didn't want any loitering or anything up there.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this map, where can cars park?
All in
Outside
front of the
their-
homes, both sides.
Okay, in front of the homes, but the way I read it, it was the garage and the driveway. So you're saying they can park all along from here?
All in front of the
way
homes,
on
all the way
both-
up around to lot number 9.
Here, use this one's got where the houses actually sit. You have the one that's first.
It still shows the street, so I'm good. I'm just trying to figure it out. Up to lot number 9.
Yeah, that's where it ends when it becomes just a through road, if you will.
Okay, so there's no parking back here, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? The vision on this side of the commission is 2020, 2015. It's blurry everywhere. Any other questions? We had a lot of paper.
Yes.
In fact, I went over there, drove right around and said, I'm at the wrong place today. John, you have any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Is someone ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the record plat Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, filed by Legends Group, and also to include the Resolution 1405-PC.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Will you please call the roll?
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Howland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Still drowning in paper.
Yes, we are.
Okay. 1405. If I'm functioning, we're now up to item 12, final site and landscape plan.
Yes, sir.
Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, and Mike is still standing, and we're still sitting. Okay,
The
Christian?
applicant, Legends Builder, is seeking final site and landscape subdivision approval to create 14 residential, single-family home lots. The zoning is R55 for Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2. The applicant received preliminary subdivision approval last year in September, resolution number 13-16 PC. Basically, there will be no common areas or homeowners association for the subdivision, and I recommend approval granting the final site and landscape approval with the two conditions that all the comments from the Public Works memo dated April 29, 2014 be met, as well as the applicant pay all fees, restoration fees, park fees before building permits are issued.
Questions or comments?
I have a couple of questions
Go
on
ahead.
the April 29th memorandum. Uh, The street grade establishment plan, the street grade along, it's just something I don't understand, if it could be explained, does not comply with the minimum K value, and therefore,
That was something that Greg Benefield was working on with Public Works, and he actually just recently resubmitted the plans to Public Works about that, so I do believe that he was able to get all that taken care of.
Yes.
is that correct? Okay, and then the second one, below that, which is in others, is that this department does not maintain bioswales, and it is recommended that the Department of Parks and Recreation review this bioswale for future maintenance.
Yes, I was, not to cut you off, I sent a memo to our Parks and Rec Director, Mike Olosky, and he came back to me and said that they do not maintain the bioswales, and that would be something the applicant would have to do. And I spoke with the applicant, and they would make sure that that's maintained and it wouldn't be a problem. So it is in the record that I did talk to them, but the packages had went out already, that's why you didn't receive it.
Does that need to go in our recommendations, or you're just agreeing to that?
That's actually, Prince George's County is in charge of stormwater management and for City of Laurel.
Thank you. Those were my questions.
Okay, any other questions? Are you sure? I count on you. Councilman Smalls, you have?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
I think you're waiting for the same thing I'm waiting for. We'll see if we get there. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of final site and landscape plan. Colonial Estates 2, Phase 2, Old Sandy Spring Road, filed by Legends Group Incorporated, and also for approval on action on resolution number 14-06-PC.
Second
So,
that.
moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes,
Motion carries.
Thank you.
thank you. I believe we're at 17? 16, excuse me. 16, annexation. 1-2014, Charter Annexation Resolution Number 163, Virginia Manor Road and Contee Road, filed by Brandywine Corporex 2 LP for recommendation to the mayor and city council. Who has that?
I have that, Mr. Chairman.
Pat, can we ask you to wait just 1 second? I'm
Certainly.
sorry, to make sure we've got the right one. It's this one, but it says,
Agenda item 12.
right,
This is on the screen.
but I think our package
Billy.
says 12.
What does your agenda item say?
I'm just trying, I have that package, but I thought it was.
Agenda item says
the staff
1, 2004.
11, but it should be 12.
Great, that's it. It's the 11. It should be 16, right?
Yeah, yes,
But it should be 16,
16.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
that's what I thought I read.
That's what we're looking at.
now we're
It should say
straight.
first annexation.
Correct.
Yeah.
2014 and Charter Resolution 163
Thought that's what I read.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Jack, thanks.
It's all right.
Charter Resolution 163 is the first annexation for 2014. Property is located on the north side of Virginia Manor Road, on both sides of Virginia Manor Court, and on the north and south side of Contee Road between Bell Chase Boulevard and River Birch Court. Total land area being requested for annexation is 63.33 acres. The recommendation is that the property be annexed and placed as follows: 8.4 acres in the R55 zone of the city, 14.7 acres in the R5 zone of the city, and 36.6 acres in the IG Industrial General Zone. These are the compatible zones with the county, which is required by state law. State law also requires that owners of not less than 25% of the assessed value of the real property in the annexed area be provided. We have received 80.9% of property that is being petitioned, and it also requires that 25% of the owners of these properties petition. We've have received petitions from 82.6%. So we're well above the threshold of 25% value and 25% number of petitions. So the recommendation is that the planning board recommend to the mayor and city council the approval of resolution number 163, first 2014 annexation.
And we're saying there's no need for traffic studies and all of that?
This is in the area that is in the master plan identified as future annexation areas. All the studies that needed to be done were done at the time the master plan was prepared, and this is within those guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Just a little.
I have a name here, Scott Barheit. Do you have it? Oh, for the next, okay, 17, okay. Thank you. Well, if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I guess I should ask, I mean, I know this is part of the plans that have been set forth in the city for a while. Are there any benefits to these property owners of being annexed?
Well,
I just have to ask the question.
we know that a community petitions to be annexed.
Yes.
That presumes a desire to be annexed.
Yes, sir. The state statute requires at least 25% of the property owners, but the city doesn't consider it unless at least 51% of the property owners. So we know that there won't be a referendum, or that we won't be wasting the council time and the planning commission's time with something that's going to fail.
Okay, so at least 50% have
At 51%.
petition, okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just add
Certainly.
a couple of things. And of course, I would think the applicants can speak for themselves regarding what benefits it would be to be a part of the city, but certainly from where I sit, I would think that things like the police service, in addition to a more streamlined and smoother permit process and those kind of things versus Prince George's County. So there are positively benefits that the city offers over any of the processes that the county may have in place. So those certainly would be some. Certainly not going to say that a tax rate would necessarily be a huge benefit, but those are positively some of the things. And as I said, I think the applicants can speak personally from what they see as benefits of coming into the city.
The presumption I was making had to do with dissent, which hasn't shown up yet, so we'll keep on going. I think we're ready for a motion then.
And this was before the council last night for its first reading, and was received positively from all of the council members.
We usually, we'll talk about that later. Okay, I'm still ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion for recommendation to the mayor and city council for the Annexation 1-2014-Charter Annexation Resolution Number 163, Virginia Manor Road and Contee Road, filed by Brandywine, Corporex 2, LP.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Can you please call the roll?
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Who can answer for me, what is a Corporex? Hello? Versus a corporation, what is a Corporex?
I'm not sure. A fancy word for corporation.
Legal people are supposed to eschew obfuscation, is the word.
That's a good point. No, you're excited.
Okay. Now we have, if I'm correct, item 17, Sarah?
Yes.
Annexation 2014, Charter Annexation Resolution Number 164, Fort Meade Road, Maryland 198, filed by KIMCO Laurel, Inc., for recommendation to the mayor and city council.
Mr. Chairman, resolution number 164 is for the second annexation in 2014. The property is located north and south sides of Maryland State Road 198 between Patuxent River on the east and the city of Laurel corporate limits on the west. It consists of 124.869 acres. The recommendation is that 10.735 acres be placed in commercial general, 1.43 in public institutional, and 4.92 acres being placed in commercial general on the south side, and 107.7 acres be placed in public institution. What you see before you is the south side. That is the KIMCO property. You have Carol's Western Wear on the left side, the strip shopping center, and then on the right you have the Pizza Hut. And then there is, the vacant land is wetlands, and up there at the top is a parcel that's owned by the city. On the other side of the road is where the Dutch Market is located. 71.1 acres of that land is owned by the city. That too is wetlands. There are 3 additional parcels that are owned by Prince George's counties that are right away. And there is the property Stewart Village Shopping Center, which is 4.9 acres. It's owned by DS Laurel LLC.
They're opposing it.
Okay, 25% of the assessed value of the real property, which is $13.9 million. We've received petition for $9.6 million of value, or 69.4% of the total value of the property. And for the number of petitions, we have received 9 petitions out of the 11 parcels, which is 81.8% of petitioned parcels. So it well exceeds the 25% minimum that the state requires. And staff would recommend that Planning Commission recommend to the City Council adoption of Annexation 164, second 2014 annexation. I believe there are some people signed up. A person signed up.
I have Mr. Scott Barheit.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Good evening.
members of the Planning Commission. My name is Scott Barheit. I'm an attorney at Whiteford, Taylor and Preston, with office in Towson, Maryland. And obviously here on behalf of KIMCO Laurel to speak in support and answer any questions that you have. To anticipate the one question that was asked of the previous matter, you'll notice by the plat on the wall, we have properties that are bisected by the city-county line that go actually right through the properties themselves. KIMCO is making an attempt to consolidate these different parcels. And imagine what it'd be like to try and redevelop a property when you're not even in the same jurisdiction. We have a companion case that's going to be following this one for a rezoning because there are some portions of the property that are currently within the city which don't have consistent zoning with other portions that are currently within the city. And you also have the difficulty of having a city-county line, which also is a difference in zoning on one side of the line versus the other. So there's a lot of benefits to KIMCO to be able to consolidate all these properties under one ownership eventually, which is our goal. Not speaking about the properties owned by the city for a moment, the privately owned properties. And then to be able to process any additional activities on the site just in one jurisdiction. And I can say from experience, as the President suggested, it's much easier to work with this staff and this government than many others that I'm familiar with. So it's much easier to be able to understand and communicate and to achieve your goals here, for which we are grateful.
Actually makes sense.
So thank you very much. Are there any other questions that the Commission might
Any
have?
questions?
I just had a question about the actual staff report. You said 4 of 17 parcels. So you throw out the percentages, 64%, 81%, and I'm not exactly, I guess I'm confused because 4 of 17, I guess that 4 of 17 represents 81%?
What are you looking at? Which
If you
page?
look to, on the agenda item is number 12, but that's really, I think this 17, it's on the top of the second page. 4 of the 17 parcels have not petitioned. So of the 4 that have, is that the 81.8% you were talking about earlier?
The 4 that had not petitioned.
The 4 that have petitioned.
No, 4 have not.
4 of the 17.
So 13 of the 17 have petitioned.
Okay, that's the 81. I'm
correct?
sorry, that's the 81%. Is that the 81% you were talking about?
It's 9, there are 11 parcels, we received 9 petitions.
Yes.
In total.
Okay.
Which represent 81.8%.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Reading this on a plane on the way here, so, thank you.
So
Okay.
where it's pointed out that the 4 that have not petitioned to be annexed, however, I guess in my layman's terms, they would be forced into an annex. Are they aware of this hearing tonight? And,
Well, 3 of the parcels are owned by Prince George's County, they don't count. 2
Okay.
of the parcels are owned by the city, and they don't count. They have to take those
but
out
the
of the
DS,
equation.
the DS Laurel LLC, that's the, is that the
DS Laurel
7-Eleven at the corner or whatever?
That is where the Dutch Market is located.
Okay,
We provided them an opportunity to petition. I've sent them petitions twice, certified return receipts. I've gotten no response. But because of the value of the property across the street, they can be taken in with all of this land without a petition.
You're not the only one that's confused.
Well,
But-
it's
but-
just
but-
part of the annexation process where we're seeking to annex, a number, I won't say seeking, we're seeking approval to annex.
Annex, yeah.
A number of parcels, and the parcel where the Dutch Market is contiguous to that, to the parcel. So we can, by law, take that in as part of our total annexation, which is what we're seeking to do.
If we don't take those 2 parcels in, there will be an enclave, which is illegal. You can't do that.
Okay.
So we have to take that in. with all the other properties.
And to be truthful, as I try to read and understand these things, I can't. I started to come by the office just for some clarification, but it wouldn't have helped. You guys know what you're doing, and you all do a great job of asking the questions that's confusing to the rest of us. And it's nothing, the only stupid question is the one you have and don't ask, okay? Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, the only reason for the question that I had is I kind of thought that, given that there may be some people who might object later who weren't paying attention, that there should be in the record, some of the benefits to the annexation plan. So that was the purpose of asking the question. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Are we ready to make a recommendation on anything now? So I'll entertain a motion. Is everybody awake here?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Annexation 2-2014 Charter Annexation Resolution Number 164, Fort Meade Road, Maryland 198, filed by KIMCO Laurel for recommendation to the Mayor and City Council.
Need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mrs. Highland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now I'm really, really confused because I'm looking at item 18, 2013 Planning Commission Annual Report. Is that correct?
Correct. The 2013 annual report is a report that I have to send to the State of Maryland Planning Department that reflects our jurisdiction's new residential permits for the year. And on the form that you received in your packets, it showed that we had 19 new residential building permits.
Thank you.
And it also reflects that there weren't any changes to our code, our Unified Land Development Code, or therefore. So it's something that needs to be sent every year to the state, and we just have to get Planning Commission approval. So I recommend approval of the 2013 report.
Yes, please, go ahead.
This is the first one I can remember, so I'm not sure if it's my first time. But I was just
I don't remember.
confused
I
that
don't remember any of it.
19 new residential permits were all that were issued last year. So all of the developments that we did for the approval of the things over off of Virginia Manor or down off of Main Street and the different places like that, those are a different part of the process, so they haven't reached this?
Some of those projects that you're mentioning probably haven't submitted for their building permits, so they didn't count in the 2013 numbers. So a lot of those are going to be reflected in the 2014 numbers. So I'm looking for the 2014 numbers to jump exponentially.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking that they've started going up over here,
Yeah.
And all of that. So this was just the calendar year 2013?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. 3 years ago, they required that we submit a written annual report, which did come before you and went before council. The past 2 years, they changed, and we submitted this report electronically to them, and they did not require approval. This year, they've come back with that form, asking us to fill that out and then bring that before you once again.
So this is the first time we've seen this
This is the first time we've seen
form.
this form.
Yes, sir.
That's the first time I have.
It's provided by the Maryland Department of Planning.
Clear as mud.
And now we make a motion to approve this. Entertaining motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the 2013 Planning Commission Annual Report.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll. Not the roll.
Mrs. Bettman?
Call the
Yes.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Stay with me. Public hearing report, fine plan. Now we're up to Resolution 1407. What's that?
What's up with that?
Is that separate?
That's the resolution showing that you approved it.
Yeah, we need that. We forgot to
Mr.
say.
Chairman, I
anything.
missed that. I move for approval of action on resolution number 14-07-PC.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now I'm looking at text amendment number 3232, ordinance number 1800, to amend Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision, Article 1, Zoning Division 5 zoning districts of the Laurel City Code, providing an effective date for recommendation of the mayor and city council.
I have that, Mr. Chairman. This is an amendment to the table of commercial uses. Presently, automobile rental agencies are permitted as an outright use in the CG and the CVAC zoning categories. We would like to recommend that that be changed to special exception to provide an additional level of review. We're having issues where people are coming in with half a dozen cars calling themselves an automobile rental agencies. So we want to curtail that
Okay.
instead of having them up and down US 1.
Okay. Like it used to be?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the commissioners?
No.
We want to make a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve text amendment number 232, ordinance number 1800, for recommendation to the mayor and city council.
I'll second that.
Bless your heart.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mrs. Bettman?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Chairman Williford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Before we adjourn, this was hard.
Yes.
And I've learned since being on the commission since 1999 that I would not have the audacity to walk into your office and apply for a job. It overwhelms me. The second question has to do with this said about this church. Every time we've dealt with a church issue before, there's been some issue within the community. Now, I know the community is all those trees around there, but this, I was expecting some hostility or some objections. What's the answer to that?
They've already been, they were here once
Probably because they haven't told us
before.
what's going on in parcel 2 yet, right?
Well, I think you're referring to the one that's on Old Sandy Spring Road, the Reform Mormon Church. They've, maybe 7 years ago, they were approved for a site and landscape plan to add a sanctuary in the front and parking around. I think that they have been dealing with Mr. Collins, donating a portion of their property. They own all the way back to the creek, that they will donate a portion of their property, and he will construct the sanctuary for them. But the church has been there as long as I've been here.
It's been there a long time.
We have to go back to you guys who skated on the lake to understand all this. That's certainly not me.
What's wrong? Billy skated on the lake.
Did you skate on the lake, Billy?
No, his sister did.
Oh, okay.
That skated on the lake
Well-
shore.
I did.
All the way to the pump house.
What's that?
And also, this is about the fourth time I know it's about the fourth time we've driven around that building that's out there where this development is going to take place. I can't even remember what the other issues were. So I was all prepared to hear some hostility this evening, and it's not there, so. Thank you all for the good work and the conscientious approach to this challenging task.
I mentioned one thing, Mr. Chairman. I noticed that the State Farm sign, they just put their plantings in this week. So it's been lowered,
I saw that.
plantings all around it. It looks great.
It looks
It's very low,
excellent.
too.
And then the other thing I noticed are the signs over at the Laurel Commerce Center. It turned out real nice. It looks good. It's up nice and high and, you
It
know,
does not
real
block
nice
the
looking.
cars. I saw the same thing.
Are you talking about the State Farm Realty person?
On the corner.
Yeah, on the where the guy next door was blocking it, she
Right.
put on the angle where he had to put it in the street, yeah. I smiled when I drove through there. Yeah. Okay, thank you again, one and all. Good to see you, Councilman.
I'll return, sir.
Meeting adjourned.
Well, we hope so.
Wow.
And here, you have this pen back. This is my